Hey, you there. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Forged Lines Forever. Today, I have a 3v3 ladder match here on the most amazing No Access map generator. So let's go ahead and introduce our teams and our players, starting off with Team 1, also known as the Red Team in the Northeast, ending with Team 2 in the Southwest, also known as the Blue Team. Starting off with Team 1's Regard Slot player, or most likely Regard Slot player, we have in Chevy Crimson, the Lord of Ashes. He is a Seraphim. He is a 1428 rated player, and he's in Chevy Crimson. To his west, we have the Code Commander. He is a Cybran in orange, the color orange, as a 1542 rated player. And last but not least, for Team 1 in Ruby Red is the Seraphim player of Tynet. He is a 1564 rated player. He is the highest rated player on Team 1, and he is also a Seraphim like Lord of Ashes. So for Team 1 side of the map, they have 2 Seraphim, 1 Cybran, no Aeon, no UBF for Team 1. Starting off with Team 2, supposedly most likely Regard Slot, we have Deus 084. He is an Aeon, the one and only of the game. He is a 1352 rated in Royal Blue. To his east, we have in Amethyst Purple Team 2's Naberwasser. He is a 1490 rated player as a Cybran. And next door to him is the highest rated player on Team 2 and in the game overall in Stitch Blue. It is Katawonka. He is a 1736 rated player. So for Team 2 side of the map, they have 2 Cybrans, 1 Aeon. So while Team 1 has a Cybran and 2 Seraphim, Team 2 has 2 Seraphim and 1 Aeon, which means for the entirety of this match, there are no UEF players. Apologies to those loyal to the old Earth Empire. Hopefully you enjoyed the game nonetheless. And of course, as a reminder, not only does both teams lack UEF tech, but Team 1 lacks Aeon, Team 2 lacks Seraphim. And for these 6 players on the map, let's take a look how much Rukum they have to scoop up. Currently sitting at, as I pull the thing up in the corner because I completely forgot, a little bit over 7,000 mass, which means it's a little bit over 1,000 mass per player. Definitely a decent amount to grab. Most of it looks like it's on the shoreline, a couple of clumps of mass in the middle. But again, the mass on the map is not a huge concern. The concern is going to be all of these mexes. And again, it may not look a lot, but it is only 3 players per team. So that's going to add up to a lot of mexes per player. Taking a look at Team 1 side of the map, we'll call the northern-ish half Team 1, and of course the southern side Team 2. There's the quad mex position over here that's going to be highly coveted by the Code. We do see a couple of one-offs on his way to that position, as well as a decent amount on the shoreline that will mostly go to the Lord of Ashes. Then of course we have more mexes down here where Tynet has already grabbed them. Couple of some labs have some combat here. It does look at the one from Team 2 ends up being the victor, but does shortly get taken out by the commander of Tynet. There are a couple of mexes kind of dotted around the edges. I don't think there'll be that much of some focus going on for those. There are a couple as well in the middle. But again, there's not that many. The main focus is going to be, of course, the large grouping of them on the northern and southern sides. Taking a look at the ComVcom situation, looks like it's a 1v1 in the north and a 2v1 in the south in favor of Team 2, with Team 1's Tynet pushing heavily into Team 2's territory, while Team 2's Katawonka pushing into Team 1's territory, with the rearguard slot player of Lord of Ashes going for his T2 air facility already. That's a really quick T2 air facility. Maybe he's trying to rush T3 air tech. We'll just have to see what he's planning. But he has not left his main base. Do see a decent amount of units trying to counteract the push from Katawonka in the north. And in the south, we do see it's not that much in terms of units coming down here for Tynet, especially because there are 2 comms. And it does look like Naberwasser might be trying to isolate his opponent of Tynet on the southern side. You can see him actually moving in, going in to intercept those forces, allowing Deus, who has a gun range upgrade on board, to start at least slowly pushing Tynet back ever so slightly. Not enough to really kill him outright yet, but essentially isolate any sort of retreat or any pushing in one way or the other. We do see a couple of units did break off from the main group to make it all the way to the southern side of the map. It's going to wreak a little bit of havoc for Team 2's backline mexes. Nothing too crazy, but if they get closer to this group or this group of mexes, it is going to hurt Team 2's eco considerably. We do see a large group of units forming in the north here for Catawanga. And now we see that isolation efforts here going down for Team 2's comms against Tynet. Trying to make himself very quick on his feet, getting into the water. I don't know if he's going to make it. He is facing off against Nabarwasser, who is pretty close to yellow. Deos is still in the green. But Tynet's about to drop to the red, which he does. Team 1 units nearby trying to wreak havoc on Nabarwasser's unit's comm just to maybe drive him away, but I don't think that's going to happen here. And Team 2 will probably claim the first kill of the game just due to the fact that Tynet doesn't have any sort of other territory to fall back to. He's cannot jump off the edge of the map. Team 1 land facility tries to block some attacks, but it's not really going to work here for Team 1's Tynet, and that will be a kill here for Team 2. 1,000 hit points remaining, and like I said, it's just not... It's not going to go anywhere. Tynet at 400, 300. Oh, overcharge kills the comm of Team 1's Tynet, and that is a kill hit for Deos 084, and that is a 3v2 in favor of the southern team of Team 2, the blue team, the southwestern team, whatever you want to call that group of forces. But to Team 1's Tynet's credit, he did take out a decent chunk of mexes for Team 2. The eco situation will favor Team 1 ever so slightly, but that number can change as the group of units for Team 2 is Catawanga get even bigger. But we do see that he's taking a severe hit. He's actually pretty close to death. Looks like there was possibly a snipe attempt from Team 1's air player. Or maybe that's what it was. It could have been just Team 1 units. Could have been a number of things, but he didn't die, which is the big thing because I didn't miss it. But of course, that does give Commander a second base, which will scale his eco quite nicely. And of course, get him a little bit higher up in probably the T3 land tech here ever so quickly. We do see Catawanga going for an upgrade. I don't know if that's the smartest play. He's sending his forces north, then he's sending his forces south. Had these forces pushed in, maybe they could have killed the comm. It would have been close, but I don't think it would have been enough. We do see he's being attacked on multiple fronts, which isn't bad, but isn't great because there's lots of stuff to deal with. But it is a small clump of units, so they're able to kind of do double duty, at least some of them, in the middle of that lineup. Catawanga back up into the yellow. He has stealth on board, trying to hide himself from his enemy's radar. In the south, Team 2 has now claimed the entirety of the south. There's still mexes to be grabbed, but they have the entirety of it under their control. Team 1 still trying to kick Catawanga out. They've almost done so, but he's just offering just a little bit more resistance than Team 1 really wants him to. Still some Mantis sitting off to the side here. Definitely not the best position to stand in. Catawanga now has gun on board, and with that gun on board, he'll be able to fend himself off a little bit better against the forces from Code and Lord. T2 units on board here for Nabarwasser, pushing in against those forces in the south again. This is where APM is going to start being very well taxed here for Team 1. You can see an attack in the north and attack in the south. You're going back and forth constantly. That's a lot of APM that will slowly be eaten away. So if Team 1 can get an early tech/eco lead, that might not be a huge issue, but Team 2 is slowly starting to pull away with the mass lead, so we see that they are transitioning into T3 tech. T3 air is online for one of them, and I wouldn't be surprised to see T3 air for the other one. T3 land is online, and Ilshi's here for Commander's secondary Seraphim base. There are some strap bombers inbound, though, from Team 1's air player of Lord going after the comm. Catawanga will get hit with that, and two more will kill him. So he has to move, get underneath shields, or both. There is a nice little ASF nearby. Interceptor's trying to intercept that bomber, but it's not going to be great. One more will kill him. He may rep up enough hit points to survive one more bomb, or one additional bomb. But I don't know. Another bomber. There, not another bomber. Same bomber inbound. Another pass inbound. 300 hit points remaining. That might just be a dead comm. Will it get the bomb off in time? 600 hit points, 500 hit points. The bomb is dropped, and there he goes. Team 2's highest rated player of Catawanga is knocked out. So both of the highest rated players on each teams have been knocked out, which means it is a 2v2 tied up game here at 13 minutes. That's gotta really hurt especially because he just didn't really have any sort of... There's no T2 engineer support to just spam up one shield. Had he had one T2 shield, I think he would have been fine. I mean, he would have eventually needed more, but at least at the current moment, he would have been fine. We have some T2 naval vessels here in the north here for Team 2's Nabawasser. Again, just kind of claiming the northwestern corner. I kind of wrote off the Navy. Didn't really make a point to cover it just due to the fact that you'd really have to claim the backside of the main players' base to really have an effective use of Navy. Granted, Cybern forces, they can walk across land, so that's a different story, but generally it wouldn't have been as effective as if this was an entire island rather than be connected by land on all four cardinal directions. But through the middle of the map, Team 1 has just thrown everything at Team 2. Nebraska moving in with his comm. Again, he has no upgrades, but does have one veterancy. Lots of T2 tickle cannons online. And they are focusing on these units up here, not the ones in front of their faces, but they are going to deal with those soon rather than being right now. We do see a couple of gunships online for Team 2's air player of Deos as well. Again, they are restores, which isn't bad. It isn't great. It isn't bad. It's better than nothing. A couple of Corsairs inbound for Deos' comm. More of them inbound. No strat bombers from Team 1's air player, but maybe we'll see another one. I don't think so. Team 1 has already used that strategy. I feel like Team 2 is going to be prepped for it, so it's maybe not going to be worth it. But Deos is dropping into the mid-yellows, though. He has speed and range upgrades on board, and those T2 units from Commander are inbound. A couple of T3s as well. A couple of Loyalists. That might be the kill here for Team 1. Deos is going to drop below. He will get a ranking veterancy ever so close to death here, but it's not going to save him. There we go, as Team 2 loses another player, and now it is a 2v1 in favor of Team 1, where initially the first death it was a 3v2. So Team 2 has had the script flipped on them, and they are now down considerably, not only in the players left alive, but the APM, that sort of thing. But again, like I pointed out earlier with Tynet's death, Team 2's Nabawasser now holds all of the cards for Team 2, and he has almost 300 mass income. And again, Team 1 is slightly behind that in 277 in total, but it's one player having all the mass versus sharing the mass. He can be a little bit more efficient with upgrades and all that sort of thing. We did see some attack over here, but possibly it was just an air scout and a couple of Team 1 frigates. Again, just annoying, nothing too crazy, but just causing a little bit of havoc. That quad mix position is knocked offline by that Salem. So again, it isn't a huge move. It's not probably going to win him the game outright, but it is going to be a little bit nice to just take off some eco for Team 1. And again, Team 2 down here, they're suffering some losses from some Ilshis, so it's again kind of an eye for an eye situation going down between both of these teams. Large group of T3 and T2 units stacking up in the middle once again for Commander. Team 2 doesn't really have an adequate defense, so this might just run straight into Team 2's base and call it a day. I definitely know the game's going to go a little bit longer than that, so that's not going to happen. But, you know, economic damage could be severe for Team 2, especially if these units, I mean, they could go straight in, like I said, but they might just curve west and then hook all the way north. These mexes are not really defended. And, yeah, there's a lot of T1s, but there's a couple of T2s mixed in there, a T2 ringed mex over here as well. So there is a lot of mexes to be killed off, and then that's mexes that have to be reclaimed and rebuilt, and it just takes time and APM and all of the juicy things that both these teams' remaining players need to have an ample supply. We do see the T3 host for Nabawasser grouping up down here, maybe just to isolate any sort of run-bys once again, because that's what, the second or third time that Team 1 has been able to deploy that same kind of run-by. Not as effective this one as it was earlier, but still it was effective nonetheless in taking out some mixes. Couple of Loyalists versus a couple of Ilshis. Again, the Loyalists do have EMP weapons. There are Loyalists in this mix, which, again, is really going to help Team 2, and the numbers heavily favor Team 1. But there are some Restorers inbound. One flak unit, not going to be enough. You definitely need some lightning tanks. A lot more than just one, even if they did have lightning tanks to really deal with those gunships. Run by attempt going on the cards here for Nabawasser. I don't know if he's going to get much work done with these. There's a little bit of a pass here by this water But again, it's just one of those things where it's not going to do that much. There is a T2 gunship inbound. There's a couple of Ayashivas and some T2 Ilshis nearby. So those will probably stop that group of units quite easily. Let's see if they're called in. They probably will be once Codemander has noticed them. Restorers, though, are inbound. They're pushing against the Loyalists, focusing on the T3 units. T3 air upgrade is done for Codemander, though, so we'll have some ASFs and strat bombers and whatnot to his advantage. There are a couple of T2 mexes going offline. That's not great here for him. He's going to drop at least in total to about 160. Team 1 is winning the game in mass generation. T3 mech not going to die just by one Loyalist, and T2 PD being built quite heavily over here. Not really going to allow that Loyalist to continue on breathing if mechs can breathe or if robots can breathe. Anyway, group of restorers here for Team 2's Nabarweiser is getting bigger and bigger, and that could be very not good here for Team 1. Again, Team 2, the only team in this game that has Aeon Tech. Team 1, they have Seraphim Tech, so it's essentially just a Cybran hooking up with some Aeons or some Seraphim. No UEF, which means no cruiser missiles, at least for the governors. No Neptunes, no Perseus, so none of those big, meaty units. Mainly just those more agile, versatile units that are, again, very effective. Brick, really good. Loyalist, good for against missiles and EMP weapons. Salem, all those lovely things that the Cyberns have. And then, of course, you can't forget the Restorer, the annoying AA gunship that it is. Stacking up units here in the middle. Nabarweiser, again, just having little pockets of those. There's the Restorers down here. There's a group up there. Team 1 really consolidating a lot of those forces in the middle. The benefit is if they just run all of the units down through the middle, they might win the engagement. However, the downside is, T2 artillery, large groups of T2, T3 PD. Actually, T3 PD don't exist in this match because there's no UEF, but you get my point. Like large group of units like this, it's really easy to bog them down, especially with artillery, just annihilating them with those AoE splashes. And it's really hard to peel off to go for raids. Just look what's going on here. Nabarweiser sending a small group north while he sends his restorers in from the south to target the large groups of flak. The ASFs come inbound here from Lord of Ashes. He was prepared for it. Again, those restorers are not invincible, even though they are very annoying to deal with. And there's, again, some bouncers nearby here for Team 2, but ASFs is just not enough. Team 2 loses essentially all of those restorers, and that attack still commences, still happens, but the damage from Team 2 is severely muted by those ASFs. Team 1, are you building anything in the background? No. Large air grid, secondary air grid for Codemander, nothing too crazy. Team 2, what are you planning on? Air grid, secondary air grid. Monkey has been started for Nabarweiser. Again, it is a ladder match. It is to be expected that T4 units are a little bit on the back burner. But we have seen T3 units fairly frequently now at 23 minutes. Speaking of which, overall, Team 1 has 2 players left, losing Tynet first. Team 2 lost Deos and then Katawonga, dropping this game to a 2v1. Half of the players are dead at the half game mark. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And of course, like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Couple of units continuing to pressure these T2 mexes that we're probably soon going to be upgraded to T3s. They might get one. Again, they might get one of those T2 mexes if the units stay close, which they don't. 75 hit points left. But again, they produce 100% of the mass at 1 HP, so it doesn't matter. A couple of units to the west take out more T2 mexes. Again, the mass situation is favoring Team 1 in terms of the, I think, totals as well. Actually, no, Team 2 is winning by the totals just slightly. And the mass generation is starting to reside pretty well even, in no particular favoring one way or the other. Tynet, actually, you are staying lock and step with Team 2. So, again, the downside is Team 2's Nabarweiser has all of the mass available to him, versus Lord of Ashes and the Codemander are sharing all of the mass that they have. So, you can't just spam up T3 mexes very quickly, sort of thing, like you can with Katawonga. Sorry, not Katawonga, but Nabarweiser. But again, the downside is not as much APM. So just 2 players can perform actions relatively twice as fast as one player. But again, that one player could be really quick on his toes. It just, everybody's different depending on the different time of days, how many matches have been played before. There's a lot of factors that go into APM, so it's really, really, really hard to calculate. A couple of Renegades kind of cosplaying as some restorers. Granted, they're doing decently well, just rampaging around some Team 1 mexes here against Team 2. And those units in the middle still being very annoying. But there is a Monkey Lord now online here for Naboazzer. Is he building a second one? No, he's gone for the upgrade, going for the crab. So he's already finished one experimental and started already halfway on another. ASF engagement slightly favors Team 2, but he also has some restorers, so he's looking to get them more involved. We do see a chicken has been started and a monkey has been started for Commander. He's building two of them at the same time. Definitely will recommend building one then the other, but that's just my caster's point of view sort of thing. And I am not the end-all be-all of all knowledge for FAF. I am not even close to 1% of knowledge of FAF. Anyway, Monkey Lord starting to be a little bit surrounded here, but again, these are T2 units. There's a couple of T3 units, but nothing too crazy. If this was Percy's, that'd be a different story, but there are no Percy's in this game. Couple of bricks to the north. Not really a lot of T3 Seraphim units, just mainly bricks and a couple of Loyalists. I do love that the Loyalist is in there at all times just to give some missile redirect, but there is a lot of Seraphim, Ilshis, and AA. I would just love to see a couple of Othams mixed in there, because why not? Monkey Lord continuing to rack up the kills here, now sitting at 30 kills, almost 7,000 mass killed. We have some Whalers inbound as well as an ASF fight that gets really not great here for Team 2. Again, another air fight that does not go their way. Restorers try to help, but it's a little bit too late on that front. And there's some bouncers and some T3 units inbound here on the land side of things. More Whalers are inbound. And it's not going to be a good day here for the air or land situation here for Team 2. That monkey is probably going to die. There's a lot of Whalers. There's a lot of flak dealing with the remaining aircraft here from Team 2. That monkey now at 50 HP and falling very quickly. Those T3, T2 units offered a slight distraction, but the Whalers are now back on task going after the monkey. Monkey is dropping considerably. And that is the first experimental dead in this game. Second one is online. It is a crab. A third one being a second crab, third experimental coming online for Naboazzer. Mega says tie night. Yep, it has been spotted. Land units aren't going to be that effective. I mean, again, the whole long range nonsense. But again, 1,000 of anything will kill anything, so there's no real concern. The main concern, of course, is look at all the dead mexes here for Team 1 on this northern side. Yeah, they're repping up their ones in the main base, but they're not keeping a hold of all of this stuff up here. That's a lot of mass that Team 1 is losing out on. Again, they are producing more mass than Team 2 in total, but Team 2's Naboazzer is producing 440 mass income, and he's really pumping out those experimentals. He has lost some mexes down here, but not as many as Team 1 collectively, so eventually that mass will favor Team 2, but it's going to be that eventually thing, that when, not if situation. You know, when could be 2 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 2 hours. So it just depends on how long that will take. Crab getting some nice damage done on some inbound units. Couple of bricks to the north to assist. This larger group down here, definitely the more worrisome of the two. The Whalers, though, that is a different story entirely. Team 1 has one air and is now using it and fanning it in front of Team 2's face. Whalers, of course, going after the Mega. It's going to take a little bit longer to deal with the crab than it was deal with the monkey. Some restorers inbound, a couple of bouncers inbound, trying to add some AA into the mix. A couple of ASFs also inbound. So attack on essentially 3 different fronts, but the crab drops into the yellow. Crab is, again, still alive, still sitting around, still pumping out shots. It's now almost at 1-star of efficiency, so to add 10% more hit points on board. In the rear, nothing too crazy, monkey and chicken. Like I said, nothing too crazy. Team 2's that second crab done. No, it's almost in the yellow, though. It looks like the Whalers are now going after economic wins and damages versus the more military unit wins. And it will be very effective. Again, look at this pressure here from Team 1. He can essentially airlock Naboazzer at this point. Team 1 now sitting at 600 Mass income, Team 2 at 400. So an almost 3-2 advantage for Team 1 is pretty oppressive. But again, the ASF count is favoring Team 1, but the longer they stay there, the more AA that's going to be built here, the better it's going to be for Team 2 in the air game later on, unless Team 1 is just constantly pumping out ASFs, which looks like he's transitioning more to gunships rather than ASFs, so we'll see if that ends up playing a huger role. We've seen gunship-only aircrafts do very well and not well, but this is a different story entirely. The P-gens are being targeted. Cascades going down. Not huge cascade, but not great. Team 2's air facilities are now knocked out and essentially now permanently offline. There is one group down here, but again, the main group is dealt with, and it looks like the ASF and the gunships are trying to escape via the western edge. Code Mander builds an experimental. Was that monkey, I think? Yep, he's built that, and the chicken is about halfway done. So Team 2 on the land situation, not good, but what is this over here? It looks like it's been spotted. Team D now says Tynet, and they are building Team D as we speak. It has been spotted. Missiles need to be launched immediately. Kind of surprised why there's no stealth field generator over here, but it is something to think about. Of course, the Omni is online right there, so they can see there's icons over there, so I'm kind of surprised why they didn't go for a stealth field. And he would have been spotted, actually spotted by Team 1 if there was a spy plane overhead, or just an air unit anyway. So having a stealth field definitely would have helped that, but I don't know if it wasn't thought about or whatever the case may be, but Team 1 is going to be prepared for that, so when Team 2 launches those missiles, it's not going to do anything. Those whalers are back with a vengeance, going after that crab again. And with more T3 land support, there's not that many AA units in terms of ground or air. These whalers are just having carte blanche to deal as much damage as they want on the crab. There's a lot of ill sheets, lots of bricks in this, going for more fire rate, of course. That's what all of the T3 units are known for, besides the Percy. This is just fire rate. There goes the crab. It will get a little damage done to the other land units nearby, but Team 2 is not looking good. That crab is almost done, though, so a new one will replace it here shortly, but with a monkey already online, chicken almost online, Team 1 with air control. It is not looking good for Team 2 if you're rooting for Team 2. Soul Ripper says Tynet. Everybody's building bugs. What is it with all the bugs lately? Again, I'm not a huge fan of the bug. The bug has its place. I'm just not a huge fan. We do see the rest of those bricks have dealt with the land units, but here come the whalers once again, and there's now more and more roaming bands of bouncers, again, slowly eating away at the air power for Team 1. That's actually a decent amount of whalers, too. There's T2 flak being built down here. Looks like it's just going to be groups and groups of AA at this point. We see more and more economic damage here for Team 2. More and more of those mechs is taken offline. Total mass incomes, Team 1 800, Team 2 430. So Team 1 has jumped 200 more mass income when I last pointed that out. And it's close to a 2-to-1 advantage. And just by the numbers alone, Team 1's going to win that fight in terms of mass. More mass, more money, more everything equals eventually Team 2 will drown in units. There is a crab inbound. That monkey will retreat. There is that old monkey wreck and the crab wreck. In terms of reclaim on the map, currently sitting at 102,000. So there's a lot for both teams to grab. But if Team 1 can claim this reclaim field that's pretty much on the doorstep of Team 2, that will probably cement their win there right there. Another crab being built here by Nabarwasser. I feel like he needs to go for a lot more AA, maybe surprise Team 1 and go for a nuke. I mean, they do have an SMD here. It is loaded, but that's... Oh, there's another one over there, so never mind. Looks like that TML strike got taken out anyways. We do see more T3 AA facilities being built here, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough. That ASF count got to be pretty close to 100 at this point. It's 100 even with 2 bingo on fuel. Look at that. And then 20 gunships, so it's a 5-to-1 ratio, which isn't actually a bad ratio to have. Monkey is inbound for the crab. The crab is doing lots of damage even before that monkey reaches him. And that is a dead monkey. Essentially right next to that crab wreck. Going to be a little bit beneficial here for Team 2's engineers to scoop up. And the whalers nowhere near. Looks like they're going down south. The monkey is down. That's a free drop. experimental wreck here for Team 2. If they can scoop it up, they still have that crab, and that monkey will be slowly eaten away by Team 1's engineers. So the longer it takes them to get there, the longer it'll take them to reclaim that. But it looks like they have targeted those engineers. One restorer versus a bunch of whalers isn't really going to work out that well. Air grid has not been expanded upon. Looks like he might just win this game with land. At least that's his main focus, probably. More AA being built all the time. He needs to build that constantly. Team 1 has had the advantage for a long time. And now we have even Codemander going into the air department with gunships as well. So it's just gunship, 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 and more gunship for Team 1. And most of Codemander's ASFs have been thrown onto patrol duty, protecting his mass extractors from any sort of gunship or otherwise airborne threat. Flak nearby will slowly eat away at the hit points, but he really needs more T3 AA. And sitting your ASFs on land next to a couple of bricks, definitely not the best place to park them. That crab will die. There's a lot of gunships here. A lot of AA moving in to assist. That crab, actually, surprisingly enough, still alive somehow. There it goes. I was wondering when it would die, but finally got taken out. Again, just every time Team 2 gets a crab or gets an experimental, Team 1 kills it. They lose a lot of gunships in the process, but Team 1, I mean, they could easily be just building a nuke and calling it a day. Team 2 has caught up a little bit. It's now a 300 mass in favor of Team 1 advantage versus the 400 it was earlier. Crab, crab, crab for Team 2. No SMD. Definitely an oversight here from Team 2's Nabberwasser. I don't see a nuke as of yet here for Team 1. Scathis at 37 minutes. You really need to go for the snipe. Codemander's eco is not strong. Well, again, we're talking about Lord of Ashes at 500, Codemander's at 360. Granted, Codemander's on dual base, so he probably should be in the lead, but again, it's still a decent chunk of mass to be ahead. In the north, though, whalers are inbound. Looks like SACUs are now on the scene here for Team 2. Lots of restorers. Lots of whalers in this mix. ASFs are called in. There's just a couple of ASFs for Team 2. Nothing too crazy. A couple of remaining restorers that are probably built from these facilities. And T3 mexers are being just annihilated for Team 2, dropping that eco advantage to now 400 and probably close to 500 here shortly. They are driven away, though, by Team 2's AA, but I think had the whalers stayed there, they probably would have ended the game right then and there. Laser has been started for Commander, because why not? Does he have no other upgrades on board? And now it's just bouncers and a lot of SAM sites here for Team 2. He has that crab sitting in the middle of all of these wrecks. There are engineers coming in to scoop up that mass. That will help keep Team 2 in the game, reclaim a little bit in favor of Team 2, but ever so slightly. Total mass, look at that. 200,000 mass more for Team 1 than Team 2. I mean, that's almost a game ender right there, just with the discrepancy. And this is a ladder match, 38 minutes. That's a lot to be behind. You can see the whalers going after the crab. Once again, there's just... I mean, I get it. He wants to slowly eat away at Team 2, but I feel like he could probably just go in for the kill at this point. And go after maybe all the P-gens, go after more of the T3 mexes. Yeah, it would be a severe loss of the aircraft side of things, but Team 1 has had air control for, 20 minutes probably, ever since that ball of restorers died. And they could easily probably wiped out. But again, Team 2's Nabberwasser could easily build something, maybe artillery, maybe game ender, maybe even just a nuke. And nuke Team 1 and end the game there. Like, anything can happen. Speaking of which, Catawanga pointing out that there is a nuke being built. So, speaking of which, Scathis is in the red still, but it is approaching the yellow. I think I'll speed things up a little bit. Those whalers are inbound once again, going after more and more of those outlying T1 mexes. There's a T3 mex not ringed. It has taken some damage, though, so that might explain why it doesn't have any mass extractors next to it, mass storages next to it. Team 2, 500. Team 1, almost 1,000. So it's over that 500 threshold. The whalers are inbound. Really, I think some shields would be very beneficial to protect all of those bouncers. Here comes more and more aircraft to just throw on the pile. There's a group of Myrmidon T3 SAM sites back there. Looks like they're going to attack the crab once again. Team 1 should have a chicken built. Yep, the chicken is alive and kicking. And now all those bricks and bouncers are being dealt with. It's just cannot build AA fast enough. SSU goes offline very quickly due to those whalers. And it's just not going well for Team 2. These whalers are essentially acting as a nice little, not only just a bullet sponge, but just so much offensive power here. There's AA being built all the time by Nabarweiser. He's been put on the defense for a long time now, and that's really given Team 1 a huge advantage. Chicken is inbound. That's going to shake things up a little bit here in favor of Team 1. There is the crab that is now done. It looks like the chicken is just going to maybe try to claim the reclaim field, maybe. I don't really know. It is going to deal with a lot of the T2 PD that have been built, but I don't even think it's going to engage those well, looks like it tried to make a shot at it, but I think that air facility blocked some of that damage. Here says Tynet, maybe going for a... It's not going to be attack missile snipe. Team 1 doesn't have any Billy nukes on board, or UEF commanders in general. Maybe thinking about where the comm is. I mean, the comm for Team 2 is right here. He can easily pop onto land if he needs to. Looks like somebody has spotted him. Yep. Soul Ripper, I'm reading that right now. But Lord of Ashes has spotted the commander of Team 2's reigning player. It is Nabarweiser right there hanging out in that nice little bay area. 30-12% done deal, says Tynet. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I feel like Team 1 could end the game right here. Don't need to build a Scanthus. Don't need to build a giant air grid. Don't need to build a huge air station facility or any of this stuff, or even just an artillery. The nuke, that's a different story. He is reclaiming it. Looks like he's trying to build a laser and focusing on that. Yep, starting gun for Codemander. That crab is the second crab. Team 2 is starting to pump out a little bit more experimentals. Again, like I've stated before, the problem that Team 2 is facing is that there's so much air power for Team 1. It might not matter what he has on land. It's going to be ripped apart. Nuke has been built here by Codemander. He's half loaded to that. Is it half loaded? Yeah, it is half loaded. The SMD is working on it. It's another anti-nuke missile. 2 air grids have been planned here by Nabarweiser, but he's spam building one more megalith and wants more power just to assist with the construction of it. But 2 crabs are not going to be enough. Group of Tor bombers is inbound. Will he see them in time is the question. 44 minutes on the clock here. There are Cormorant class ASFs are inbound. He has to have seen them. Yep, he sees them. He gets on the land. He knows what the threat was and goes, no, no. That's where I was sitting, exactly where I was sitting. Enough of a distraction from those ASF allow Nabarweiser to get onto land. And those are now knocked out of commission. A couple of ASFs and gunships are inbound. And more AA, of course, is being built all the time. And you can see it's slowly having effect on Team 1's ability to fight aggressively in air. Unfortunately, there's not as much AA coverage next to the experimentals, so that might be a problem for that crab. Look at those hit points. Look at them. Look at them. They're just flying off the shelves. There's a lot of AA coming off of those bouncers, though, but still, more than half the hit points are now gone. It's just devastating amounts of power. We do see a nice little Soul Ripper running around, and Codemander saying just use the Scathus and be done with it. Scathus is almost done. 45 minutes on the clock here. Team 1's going to have an experimental before 50 minutes. I'm sorry, game ended before 50 minutes. And at that point, Team 2 really has nothing. They have a couple of crabs. Team 1 has 2 chickens. So it's just not... It's not going to be enough power. Secondary nuke online. I feel like Team 1 just had all the power in the world and just kind of waited to use it all at once kind of thing. That Scathus is now done. It's firing its first volley. It is inbound. And with that, Team 2 might just dip out of the game. I mean, there's really nothing that he can do against the Scathus at this point. He is starting to counter all of the gunships from Team 1, but I just don't think it's gonna matter at this point. Again, if Team 1 loses all the gunships, they lose the air power, even if they lose the land units, with a nuke and a Scathus alone, it's not going to do much. SMD is loaded, so that is something. But if it gets taken out, which it won't because it's going up to lanyards, Nabarasser knows it's over. What a nice nuke, says Tynet. And it's going to land right behind those crabs. It's going to kill that one off. All the T3 units might actually get out of range. Kaboom. Does actually not as much damage as you think it would. Scathus actually does more damage than the nuke does at this point, at least with that shot. But yeah, again, the Megalith is kind of hurting on hit points. But again, it's just one of those situations where, yeah, you could have 5 crabs and it probably would not make a difference. Once the SMD, or actually dual SMDs, go down, apologies, that's game right there. A couple of artilleries have been thought about, but I highly doubt those will get finished. Looks like he's actually canceled the construction of them. Another Scathus volley is inbound, takes out both the SMDs. That's why you don't park them one next to the other. And with that, that might just be game. Because if there's a nuke loaded, which there isn't, it's not going to matter. It looks like maybe Nabarasser wants to have one final huzzah. 2 crabs about to be taken out. Chicken just going to give both of them a nice little hug. 2 bugs inbound all of the T3 units. And that last crab is going nowhere. Nabarasser, you put up a good fight, but losing those 2 players back-to-back like that definitely did not help the situation. 48 minutes on the clock here. Another GG out in chat. Tynet says a GG. Everyone says GG, and that might just be the departure here for Team 2. Yep, there he goes. And Team 1 wins the game. I still feel like Team 1 could have won the game maybe 10, 15 minutes sooner, but, you know, sometimes it's nice to be able to build a game ender or two. But again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And MVP for me, I think gotta give it the Lord of Ashes. Those whalers were really oppressive and really kept Team 2 back. Nabarasser had a lot of opportunities snuffed out because roaming bands of whalers went, oh, this stuff over here gone. Oh, the stuff over here gone. Oh, the stuff over here in the middle gone. So essentially, Lord of Ashes took the Restorer trick and, again, flipped it on its head and called it a day there. So, again, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like my pick of MVP, if you don't like my MVP pick, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next one.